Kohberger allegedly stalked one of the victims. That's false. You knew that was false. For anybody who had never heard that before, that question is now planted into them, unqualified representation that Mr. Kohberger stalked one of the witnesses, and that's false. We do not have evidence that the defendant had direct contact with 1122 or with residents of 1122. But we can put his phone in that area. There are many residences in that area. It's a dense population of mostly college-related occupants.
Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Hey, you guys. How's everyone doing? Happy Sunday, happy Sunday, happy Sunday. We have this hearing tomorrow. And this hearing is very important because we know here on this channel that we have been filing FOIAs, trying to get information, being screwed over by literally doing nothing but paying for them to redact info. The more expensive, the more information they are removing. That has become apparent. So we're going to play catch up tonight before the hearing tomorrow. And I already have the link ready to go for tomorrow morning. It's at 10:30 Moscow time. So it's 12:30 my time here in Texas. So I'm going to go live at 11:45 tomorrow morning so that we can hang out for a few minutes before it starts. Because why not? It's oral arguments tomorrow. I don't know exactly what they're going to talk about. I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know if people are going to take a stand. I mean, like, it's a Zoom thing. Most of this is like a Zoom thing. So I don't really know what they're going to do. We're going to go over some of the documents, though, because I wanted to see what it was that they had, like, tried to get from Moscow. I want to see what the denials and everything was. We did go over the original petition, but there's been declarations and stuff added and blah, blah, blah. And I just want to see what some of their points are. And I have skimmed through some of it. I haven't really like read too much into it because I want to hear the arguments. The documents are whatever. Like, we see what they're trying to say. But I really just want to hear them talk about it. Because I don't see how they can try to pull off the kind of redactions that they're doing, knowing that it's very specific information that's being asked for, and then also try to play victim at the end of the day with a letter whenever they put in the letter from the FBI. And in Mia Batista's portion, or however you say her last name, in her portion of it, she's just like, we've basically been bombarded with all these FOIA requests. Yeah, I guess freaking so. This is an extremely ridiculous case. And the way it was handled is extremely ridiculous. And if y'all would have been prepared for this, like any agency with any sort of common sense would have been, you wouldn't be being bombarded. You would have had all of this shit taken care of already because you knew the redaction rules. Like, y'all have had years. Like, I don't have any sympathy. I don't. They have had years to be prepared for these requests. Okay? And people can say, oh, they can't touch them till there's a request. Bullshit. They know exactly what they're going to redact. They know exactly how they're going to behave and how they're going to answer things. They could have left the original files and then had a redacted version ready to go. This could have been done a long time ago. This could have been done a long time ago. And if there was anything that needed to change, well, they had the original copy in order to make changes. There's no reason for this. There's no reason for them to act like it cost this much money. I'm telling you now, I have never, outside of Idaho, paid for a damn FOIA. Ever. And I give the example of the Kylie Rodney case because the California Highway Patrol sent me, I don't even know how many files so big that me and Steve Fisher had to share them the same way that Moscow PD sends files, ginormous files of drone footage and all kinds of things. And they didn't charge a dime. Forensic information about her vehicle being with the FBI, going to CHP, all of the accident reports, not a dime. Pullman, not a dime. And they gave me several different batches of information. Not a single penny. There's no reason for Moscow to be charging money like this. I have never paid anything anywhere else. I can't think of anywhere else I paid anything for. Besides like Pacer and like paying for court documents that way. I've never ever, besides Moscow, had to deal with something like this. They've gotten thousands of dollars out of us. Just this channel, thousands of dollars. Thousands. I know them Christmas bonuses got to be crispy. Like, there's just ain't no way. Just insane. Just insane. Yeah, that's another thing. How many other cases are they charging like this for? How many other cases are they charging like this for? Because I don't know. Now, I know that Into the Weeds, when it comes to Gypsy Rose's stuff, they've had to pay stuff. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's nothing the same. There's no uniform rules to anything. Like, this is the federal law for public disclosure. Federal. There should be a base rule set that every state, every city, every county, every courthouse has to follow. And that includes the way that things are priced, if they are priced whatsoever. There's no reason for every little city limit line to do things differently. It's the same bullshit they pull with your medical insurance and your dental insurance and everything else that's important. They do this little tedious, everybody has to have a little label. Everybody has to do something different bullshit and make them feel special. That's how they've always been. That's how they make it. That's how they are able to get away with all the bullshit, because there's so much going on that most people can't pay attention to it. So they just say, okay, whatever. That's why we're so complacent with the world today, because there's always so much bullshit. We eventually just like, okay, whatever. So like I said, I do have like time left to file an appeal for what we got for the 11/12 footage. But it'll be like, I don't know what my rights are with that. And that's another reason why I feel like this case is important. And I do want to pay more attention and do the updates on this one as they come in, just as much as we did when the case itself was like super crazy with information, because this is an out of Idaho entity and they're trying to play like they have to have some sort of business registration inside of Idaho in order to get FOIA information. And I'm like, excuse me? What? So that's a weird ass argument in itself. And just to be on the safe side, EWU went and got a business license, a business registration for Idaho for Justin Casey's. Yeah, sure, it asks you if you're a resident of Idaho, but it doesn't exclude you from getting FOIA information if you're not a resident of Idaho. So what the hell does being a business have to do with FOIA stuff? They don't ask that of me. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy as hell. Okay, so what we're going to do here. What we are going to do here. Welcome, April. Welcome. Welcome. What we're going to do here is we're going to open up a Google Drive that was sent to me by Sarah, because she's got this shit so organized, and we're going to look at the documents through her link. Now, I'm not going to give you this link because this is her link. And if you want her link, then I will link her Twitter account or her YouTube. If she's here, she can tell me which way she wants me to do it. But I don't know if this is a link that she just gives out. I know she sent it to me, but I don't know if this is one that's public. So unless she says that's okay, I'm not going to share this link itself. But I will give you all her social media where she posts all this stuff. And she is like the quickest when it comes to document updates and this kind of stuff. It's always over on Twitter. Like, it's the first thing I see usually whenever I get on there, because she gets them like that, like this, like not even a joke like that. It's so freaking fast. Usually the same day. So let me give y'all her Twitter account real quick, because usually if I put that stuff in the description box, YouTube acts stupid. I don't know why. So let me give y'all her social media link if y'all have Twitter for Sarah. Yeah, she's so freaking organized, bro. I know. My God. Her actual... See, this is the one that needed the shout out for the damn spreadsheets, because her spreadsheets are on point. Like, they're organized, they're linked. Like, she needs to teach a class for real. Because this thing is like so like it looks so simple, but whenever you consider that it links straight to everything, and even at the bottom, she has the link for it to go to the website for the case hearing to be actually like streamed. Like, she's got the whole thing. It's so freaking organized. So there's her Twitter right there. And then she also does have a YouTube channel, but I don't really think that she posts any like videos on it, but she does post a lot of stuff in the Oh, come on. Why is it not popping up right here? She posts a lot of stuff in her community tab. It's not popping up when I just type it in. Well, that's some crackhead stuff. Maybe it's all together. You know what? Maybe it'll let me tag her in the thingy. Let me see. It's not pulling up her account to let me tag her on her channel. I wonder why it's doing that. I'll have to find it. I'll have to find it afterwards and tag her in the description box, but it's like not popping up her channel on here. Well, there's her Twitter. That's where she posts a lot of the stuff on there. I'll find, oh, I don't know what the hell. I literally like just shared something from her community post tab. Like literally just a few days ago. That's weird. Okay, I don't know. I'll find it. But that's her Twitter account. Follow her on there, and I'll put the thing for her channel down in the thing. That's crazy. But she has all these organized, and like I said, we already went through the petition that gave like a base idea about what they were doing. Let's see what this next one is. Let's see. I don't think there's anything in these court minutes, but let me check. And when she pops up in here, I'm looking for Sarah to pop up in here. She usually pops up in here. Let's see. They had like detailed information for what they actually tried to file petitions for, file for information for. And that's the document that I wanted to go over today. Is it this one? Plus, they also had some information coming in from Karen Laramie and the Chapins joining in. Let's see which one we're going to start with. I saw the one earlier and it had everything. Is it this one? I don't think it's this one. Okay, yeah. We're going to read the background again for the things that they were requesting. And then we're going to look at the way that Moscow is responding. Because, again, they're trying to act like EWU needs to have some sort of registration for doing business in Idaho. And I've never heard of that ever. And I don't know why they're trying to do that. I also don't really know why they put in here a couple of the other like lawsuits that EWU has been a part of for this stuff, because they don't put in the final decision for the lawsuits. They just put in like one filing for each one and just like add it to the file. And I'm like, what is the point of this? You're not even saying if they won, if they lost, like it's just in here. So I don't know what they're going to end up arguing about. We'll see what they do with it. But right here, this is one that was filed back on March 30th. And it is the petitioner's brief. It says that the petitioner, EWU, is seeking disclosure of public records related to the investigation of Bryan Kohberger. Let's start with their background. On or about June 30th, 2025, EWU submitted an informal request by email to the Moscow Police Department seeking investigative materials related to the Bryan Kohberger case. Declaration of Amy James, which is over here. Hers is right on top of that one. And it's 45 pages, which is insane. But this is where she gives like a, I guess we can actually look at this one better because it won't be so paragraphed out. This just has it more in like a list order. So this is where they show on June 30th, there was a request submitted via email to the Moscow Police Department seeking investigative materials related to the Bryan Kohberger case. This was right after everything broke. On July 1st, 2025, the Moscow Police Department responded and directed EWU to submit a formal request. So they sent an email instead of sending an online public request form. So I understand the reason why they were then responded to with, hey, you need to submit a formal request. But that's pretty much all I'll probably agree with here. On July 11th, they finally submitted the formal public records request to the portal seeking investigative materials, including but not limited to video recordings, audio recordings, photographs, communications, or other evidentiary materials. A true and correct copy of this request is attached as Exhibit A at the bottom. Now, when we first sent in a request for this, remember when we first did this? We sent in a request for any and all, and they told us it was going to be like $20,000. Y'all remember that? $20,000. Which also is kind of crazy to me because there was somebody else, I think his name is Michael something, Michael A, starts with the A. He submitted a request for 3 different poll camera footage from the FBI, and I think they quoted him like $54,000 or $56,000 for 3 things of traffic cams from the FBI, poll cameras, traffic cams. So I'm like, how the hell is any and all 20,000? But then you want $50-something thousand for that shit. And then when somebody requested the Liz Q360 camera footage, I think they were quoted like $7,000 and something dollars. And then they got another, if I remember this correctly, they ended up getting another, yeah, that guy. He ended up that for the poll cameras. Yeah, was it Annie? Was it Annie Potts that did this other request? She submitted a request for the Liz Q cameras. I think it was Annie. Y'all would know better. Sent a request for the Liz Q360 cameras, and I think she was originally quoted like $7,000 something dollars. And then something happened, if I'm remembering right. Sound like Dylan over here. I don't know if I can remember this. If I'm remembering right, there was another answer, and like a bunch of shit was taken out, and the price got lowered, right? Because a bunch of stuff got removed. Something like that. Like they kept messing with it. They just messed with it. Was it $114,000 for those for the poll cameras? I remember thinking it was like astronomically stupid. So yeah, they ask a lot. Yeah, it was Annie. Yeah, it was $7,000 for the Liz Q camera stuff. Like unbelievable. I know, it was like, it sounds ridiculous. I know, like that. They've basically gotten the price of my house for the damn FOIAs. If you add everything up, it's literally the price of a home. And that's just the stuff that we've actually requested. You know how many things we haven't? Okay, $200 for the knife sheath information, for 3 photos and 2 email threads. $200 for 3 freaking pictures? Like we're at an art gallery. Okay. Wild. On or about July 14th, 2025, the city issued a written response denying the request in its entirety, citing a revised amended non-dissemination order in the criminal proceedings. Now that one I still can sort of understand because at this point there was still a gag order. So honestly, they probably should have known at this time, just like we did, that we weren't going to get shit because we never hardly got anything from them anytime we asked until after the gag order was lifted. So that makes sense that they were getting denied then because everybody pretty much was getting denied. But after the gag order is where everything important happened. After the non-dissemination order was lifted, EWU submitted another request on July 23rd, 2025, seeking substantially similar categories of records. A true and correct copy of this request is attached, and we'll look at that here in a second. On July 24th, 2025, the city responded that the request was broad, would require substantial time to locate, retrieve, review, and prepare responsive records, and would result in significant costs. The city further indicated that processing the request would require more than 300 hours of staff time and cost in excess of $20,000, required a deposit before proceeding, and it's always half. So they would have wanted $10K before they would have touched anything, bro. And stated that certain records were created from other agencies that would not be produced. A true and correct response of this is in Exhibit D, which is the same excuse that they've used with us too. that it doesn't belong to them, it belongs to the FBI or it belongs to whoever. The only entity so far that hasn't done that is the Idaho State Police, in way of if it's their forensic report, if it's their own people's stuff, they have no problem handing it over if they have it. But they also know that we have reports that say that basically everything in these reports at the end of the report says it was handed over back to the lead agency, which is Moscow. So for ISP, they have a reason to say, hey, this isn't ours. We were just assisting. It's with Moscow. It belongs to Moscow. But that's where we also find a difference here, because the FBI is doing the opposite. The FBI is doing, like, had the exact same, let's say, trail in way of the main lead agency, according to paperwork, which of course we know better circumstantially. But paperwork wise, it's supposed to be the Moscow Police Department. So there's no reason why the FBI should be able to say, you're not allowed to give anybody the information that we sent you for this investigation. It belongs to us. If stuff that ISP doesn't belong to ISP because it's not their investigation, it's Moscow's. So if this is Moscow's investigation, how does the FBI claim authority and property and rights and ownership if they're not the lead, if they're just assisting? And they can't say, oh, we loaned you that information. This ain't money, baby. You can't loan me a damn piece of paper. That's not how it works. I don't understand why they're still being so damn secretive about everything that they did in this case. I think whatever the FBI did is going to be the downfall of everything here. Something went wrong somewhere in several different departments, but I think the only thing that really matters, and the only thing that maybe will actually be something they can't hide, can't cover up, can't sweep under the rug, is something with the feds. And that's why they've done so much from the very beginning to make it look like they didn't really do much, when they're the ones who literally orchestrated everything. There's a reason why Hitler gave that order. There's a reason why they've done everything they could in the media to erase the FBI from being part of this whole thing. They've done it for a while. Following that response, EWU communicated with the city's attorney, Mia Bautista, including discussions regarding narrowing and prioritizing the request and addressing cost estimates and scope. Now, was EWU the original entity that put out the Molly video, guys? Do you guys remember how we had that one channel that came out and put out the video of Molly getting pulled over, but it became really apparent really fast that they stole it from another channel because they put their logo right on top of the other logo? Wasn't it EWU? Like, I'm about to go check on their channel because I think it was EWU that originally had the Molly photo out, the Molly video out. Like, I think I even made like a video about it. Let me see if I can find it. I'm pretty sure I did a video calling this person out, and because this is somebody that's like been a pain in my damn ass the entire time I've been on YouTube. Arrest body cam. Let's see. I really believe it was EWU. Yeah. It was her that came out and put, I think, on top of EWU's body cam, because I think Evil CJ is the one who found that out, that it was somebody else's body cam. I'm trying to find the video about it. I know we talked about it. I might not have done a straight up video on the subject, but I know we discussed it. And I'm pretty sure it was Evil CJ that found it. Axon. That's it. You're right. It was Axon. So it wasn't EWU. Okay. But I knew I knew somebody had it. Okay. I thought it might have been them. Okay, you're right. Okay, Axon. So it's different. Okay, so then my question, the other reason why I thought it might have been them is because they were requesting all kinds of stuff. So did they ever put anything out about this case? Because like we have, like our little bitty channels have been able to put stuff out, and they have like millions of subscribers on all of their channels. So do we know if they ever actually put anything out regarding 1122 or anything like that? I'm gonna go search their channel, Kohberger. There's literally no reason for the last name Kohberger to be popping up 2 videos on their channel that have nothing to do with the case. So I don't know. I don't know if they've ever actually posted anything. I don't see anything. I don't see anything. So if they have been requesting all of this stuff the whole time, are they trying to act as if they just never have received anything? Because we've definitely received stuff. That's why there's stuff all over YouTube. Yeah, I just searched. I don't think there's anything. Okay, well, let's see. On August 8th, 2025, EWU submitted a narrower request seeking more specific categories of materials, including video recordings, audio recordings, including interviews and 911 calls, photographs, communications, and phone extraction data. Now, obviously, they're not going to give you the phone extraction data, but did they not give them interviews and 911 calls? Which interviews did they ask for? I guess we'll see in the exhibits. On August 25th, 2025, the city issued a written response denying certain categories of records, including materials created by other agencies, such as the Federal Bureau of Investigation and Pennsylvania State Police, and directed EWU to seek those records from those agencies. Now, if anybody could handle that, it would be EWU. I don't know how to handle that. You have to file some sort of subpoena with the court with Pennsylvania in order to get anything from them. I mean, I don't know if it's changed now. Probably not. Maybe I'll put in another request this week coming and see if I get a different response. But when I tried to get the Kohberger interview from Pennsylvania, I was told that anything that was allowed to be public was already on the public website, just like they have stuff out here for Idaho and whatnot, and that anything else regarding that was going to have to be subpoenaed through a court filing. And I'm over here. Like, it's something like this is something that I would have to like physically be in Pennsylvania for. Is how I'm understanding it. And I can't do that, but these companies can. These big agencies, these big organizations with bazillions of subscribers sure could. So I want to know if EWU tried. I don't know if they mentioned anything that they did in Pennsylvania in this. I don't know if they know that there was a pocket recording. I don't know if there is a lost transcript that they know about. We know about it, but I don't know if they know about it. And if they try to get that information too. But like I said, if anybody can go and handle something in person in these states anytime that they need to, it's these big organizations with multiple people working for them and millions of subscribers and people, constant rotation. So if all this time it hasn't come out, then does that mean that these companies either A, didn't try, or they subpoenaed it and we're still told no? Because what did I say about that situation? I said, what if we figure out how to do it? What if I find somebody in Pennsylvania and we go and subpoena the court? We spend all this money, we file everything, we fill everything out, we put all this energy into it, and then the feds still say no. Because that's the answer we got from Moscow. The Fed said so, FBI said so. I wonder if EWU's filed anything with Pennsylvania. You'd think they would be filing them simultaneously if they had tried to get anything from Pennsylvania. On September 15th, 2025, the city issued a letter partially denying the request and producing certain records. The city denied certain records under Pennsylvania law, denied FBI-related records under federal law without identifying specific authority, denied records created by other agencies, and produced certain materials with redactions. I am aware of an order entered on or about October 1st, 2025, addressing dissemination of certain materials, in particular crime scene photos and videos. Based on my review of the materials produced by the city, it is my understanding that the order permits disclosure of certain categories of information, including portions of the resident's personal property and witness-related materials, and that the city redacted materials beyond what appears to be required in that order. The thing, too, though, is that the order that was put in place is only for Moscow, obviously, because Idaho can do, like, the state forensic lab and the Idaho State Police, they're not included. They're not included. So anything that they released technically doesn't have to follow this order that was done with the Laramie family because it was only against the city of Moscow. Are they following it? Yeah, not really a big deal. I mean, they're not going to want to rock the boat. But in all actuality and legality, they don't have to. It's the same way that even though stuff was going on in Washington, like he was arrested in Pennsylvania, but he was a Washington resident. Washington didn't have to abide by the Idaho gag order, which caused a problem with the 911 call. Remember that whole situation. What we were told with the 911 call is that Washington wasn't sure if they had to actually abide by the gag order because they're not the same state. So, but in order to like find out for sure, they filed some information. They filed something with Washington Supreme Court, and no one ever answered the petition. No one ever answered the filing. No one ever answered their question. So when all of this stuff was said and done, they just went ahead and released it because no one ever answered their question. It just sat there at their own Supreme Court, and no one bothered to tell them what they needed to do. So for a while, they were just like, well, we're just going to follow whatever Idaho's doing because it's their case. But then they had so many people asking for it, and they didn't understand why they couldn't. Because, again, different jurisdictions, different state lines. And, again, they also were trying to get permission forever and were being ignored. But then WSU has, like, a public portal for information. So, like, I don't know why they wouldn't just have allowed Whitcomb to release that. Because, I mean, I got information from Pullman while there was still a case going on. Like, before we ever had a plea, we were getting information from Pullman. There was stuff in it from WSU. We were getting some of it. That whole thing didn't really make a lot of sense. All right, so here we go into their requests. This is okay, so this is their first one. All interrogation footage filmed in relation to the case in video format. In audio if the interview is not filmed. All interview footage filmed in relation to the case in video format. In audio if the interview is not filmed. This must be like just like a template that they use for everything. All witness interviews related to the case in video format. Audio if the interview is not filmed. Crime scene photos, crime scene videos, evidence photos, evidence videos. All 911 calls recorded in relation to the case in audio format. Police reports, all body camera footage recorded in relation to the case in video format. All dash camera footage filmed in relation to the case in video format. All CCTV surveillance footage related to the case in video format. All video recordings and audio recordings related to the case, and all phone evidence related to the case. Yeah, this is where they were getting denied still because the gag was still in play. This is them asking it again after the gag was lifted. And then this is just some of these don't belong to us. Some things belong to ISP. Some things belong to Lake County. Some of them belong to the prosecutor's office. Some things belong to the FBI, Pullman, University of Idaho, Washington State University, which we know that. But again, if you're the lead agency, and at this point now, we're being told that everything that we're asking for from these other departments was being sent back to you because you're the lead agency, then to say, oh, these things belong to these other entities. No, they don't. No, they don't. So then they basically asked for it all over again. They just like gave it a different format. And they're going based off of KYVB7's request. Please provide all communications, whether via email, written correspondence, call logs, notes, or any other format, between the Moscow Police Department and KYVB7 regarding the request of records related to Bryan Kohberger. Isn't that like a local station? KYVB7 is not popping up anything. What is that? KTVB7. I have an Instagram for KTVB7. So did they put this in? Yeah, they put this in here incorrect. That's probably why they didn't get information, because who the hell is KYVB7? And they'll do that. They don't care if it's misspelled, like on accident. They'll be like, sorry. So this is where they're asking for, or they're getting a response back for body cam footage. Body-worn camera footage from responding officers on November 13th, 2022. There are numerous body-worn camera footages from the responding officers. One video involving Officer Nunes has already been prepared for release. Yeah, Connor paid for it. I'm pretty positive. Or is that the one that came out first from mainstream media? I honestly can't remember. I just know that all of it I watched on Connor's channel. One video involving Officer Nunes has already been prepared. There's a $30 duplication fee. The other body-worn cameras have not been released yet and are still in the process of review. Well, Connor paid for a shit ton of those. That's for sure. If you have an order of priority you'd like us to consider, please provide that. So considering the fact that us YouTubers have been out here, you guys and us have been out here paying for all these damn redactions. This big-ass company was in process of trying to get stuff and still didn't like go down the list and try to get body cam footage from Warner or all these other people. Like, they didn't try to actually go in and get separate stuff besides that. They just got these like blanket requests and stopped doing it because it doesn't seem like they paid for any redactions on anything at all. Like, all of us did, is what it seems like. They didn't pay for any body cam footage at all. Interrogation footage from all suspects. This request is still overly broad. Witness and family interviews from friends and family of Bryan Kohberger and the victims. This request is still overly broad. Well, you didn't talk to his family. Amber at the FOIA department told me specifically they never once talked to Bryan's family. And besides the Pennsylvania interview, they didn't speak to Bryan outside of that either. Ever. Ever. CCTV footage showing the victims and suspect of activity related to the crime. So they have 1112 King Road that has been released. Yeah. What date was this? This was August 25th, 2025. So at this point, it was just the little 1 hour public packet that they had already put out. And it was was it the Idaho Statesman that had it first? Well, we know who had it first, but the media had it out first was the Idaho Statesman. But it was just that segment, the 3:30 to 4 something, 4:20 something. And then it says phone dump of Kohberger's phone. This is an FBI record. Audio records of interviews, 911 calls, or other related records. The 911 call is already released, so you need to pay a $30 duplication fee. Photographs from the scene, evidence or investigative activity. Now, this is where they did have photographs, and I still need to file that. I keep forgetting to file that. I need to FOIA the FOIA that got the very first batch of crime scene photos that Officer Snyder took, those like 180-something pictures, because by the time we FOIA'd it, they had already done the redactions and taken out bedrooms. So there was like 130 Was it 130 or 150 that we ended up with them at the end of the day? They had like 30 or 50 of them removed. It was one of the two. But we know that there was a mainstream media company that put them out and they were blurred, and they were the only ones, only one entity that got the photos in that. And I just wanted to make sure that it was that mainstream company, because it could have easily been somebody else and then they gave them to the mainstream company and they're the only ones that have that copy, because then here's the damn lawsuit saying that we can't see the photos from the bedrooms. And again, these are the original ones from Officer Snyder walking the scene. I need to FOIA that for you. So then they're giving another excuse for FBI stuff. This is a long ass letter, but this is also here where they get a $20,000 quote. We got the same letter. We got the exact same letter. Yeah, and then this is talking about Officer Noon's body cam being $30. I don't remember who came out with that first. I know that I feel like we watched it for the first time in full on Connor's channel. I feel like we did. Oh, what is this one? Number 3 was what? All audio records of interviews, 911 calls, or other. And it says for number 3, what? So if they want to go further with all of that, then they would need to pay, based on 8 hours and 30 minutes of audio files to review, for 4 hours and 30 minutes of redactions and legal review, and 2 hours of administrative tasks, the city is estimating this request will cost you approximately $1,370. Bullshit, because it was what, $700 and something just for the Sigma Chi frat guy interviews. So when they're sitting here quoting them $1,300 for audio records of interviews, 911 calls, or other records related to the case, what does that entitle for them? Because there's definitely been more than $1,300 freaking paid for interviews. We just paid $300 and something for one of Jack's interviews, and we still have to pay another $180 something for the other one. Look how much money was just paid for Jack Showalter's interviews. Look how much money they paid for the Sigma Chi interviews, for the other interviews that Connor has coming out. $1,300 where? My freaking ass? No way. I want to know what that entails. Like, what interviews and audio does that entail? Because we've probably spent 5 times more than that just on interviews. There's no way. Most of this stuff is like, here, you can have a duplication fee, but this doesn't have any specifics. Like, that's annoying. That's annoying. Cost letter. I was hoping to get a cost letter out to you today, but you did already. This is them just doing a modification. So they freaking sat here and asked for all of this shit and didn't actually go through and pay for any of it, because again, we out here are the ones that paid for all these interviews. See, this is exactly why I wanted to look through this shit, okay? So they have this one right here. What is the date on this? September 2nd, 2025. All right. All crime scene photos. All body-worn cam watch guard footage from the first 5 responding officers. Connor paid for all of that footage. That's Warner, that's Snyder, that's Gunderson, that's Corbin Smith. All of that, Connor paid for all of that footage. So EWU asked for it. So let's see what it says. Because if it says that it's just a duplication fee. Yeah, look right here. All from the first 5, duplicate records for Nunes, Warner, Snyder, Gunderson, Smith, 3 releases. So this is 3 of them that were already done in duplicate record. The other ones would have needed to be redacted, and they still didn't redact them. Connor ended up paying for those redactions. We know that because EWU didn't ever release anything. They literally were sitting here asking for all of the shit we just paid for. This is crazy. So they filed all these FOIAs and then didn't actually pay for anything to be redacted. 911 call recordings for the unresponsive person. That's old news. Surviving roommates' first interviews. Witness interviews. Phone interviews with Kaylee's friends. Surviving roommate B interview from 11/13. Surviving roommate B's second interview from 11/16. That's Bethany. Friends of victims at this time frame. Witness J. I mean, they're asking things awkwardly, but they're coming from like supplemental reports. But that's the same thing that Connor used. That's crazy. Kaylee's ex-boyfriend D on 11/13. Well, that's on Noons. You could hear him talking. Interview with KD on 4/12. That's Kai Davis. They asked for Kai Davis and didn't pay for that. Connor paid for Kai Davis. This bazillion-dollar company asked for all of these things, and then at the end of the day, didn't pay for shit. You know how annoying that is right now? That is really annoying. WSU student L, 10/10/23. Civilian witness statements. DoorDash driver MM interview. WatchGuard BWC and FBI cognitive interview audio. Include reference surveillance clips. 356, 358. Supplement 314, Pullman PD body cam, where MM mentioned seeing Bryan. Yeah, no, that was the accent stuff. And where we know that she's a freaking liar. Linda Lane surveillance, full unedited sets. Well, Connor has those too. Connor has those too. We know that Linda Lane was leaked. And I don't know how much Connor paid for those. I didn't ask him. I need to email him and ask him. I need to get together with him and Christy, and we need to create, I mean, everybody, honestly, even the people that I don't get along with need to have access to this. We all need just a Google Drive folder, and everybody have their own subfolder inside of this Google Drive folder that we all have access to. And we all need to put all of our FOIA requests in this so that we can do a compare and contrast for what we asked for, what we paid for it, compared to this and compared to everybody else's requests. Because this is crazy. This is actually crazy. Light bulb camera comparison recordings from 12/22. Amber told me about that one a long time ago. Vehicle test run. 11/12 King Road surveillance. 1,464 original clips plus 17 concatenated files, however that word is said. Yeah, because Andrew Fox went in there and put them all together because they were all 5-minute increments. WSU Moscow neighborhood cameras. Traffic cop videos. Yeah, I can't believe that they try to act like that traffic stop was important. At the end of the day, they're just trying to hide the fact the cop's a little liar. Indian Mountain Lakes, Pennsylvania gate and aerial surveillance. See, I want the drone footage. I've been asking for I think I've even asked for the drone footage before. See, I have so many emails full of these FOIA requests. I've got to get them all organized out. I should have been doing it all along. I should have had a living document this entire time, and that's my bad for not keeping up with it. FBI CDs of Kohberger, Elantra vehicles, residents. Now, I've asked for jail calls and stuff like that too. Nope. They won't give me shit when it comes to any of that. Inmate housed next to Kohberger. Jail call with mother. I've even asked for the video footage that they have of a transport of a jail inmate talking about Kohberger on the jail transport, and they told me no. The inmate transport, they told me no. Let's see. Pennsylvania CERT raid recording. What? No, they didn't record the arrest. That's the thing, though. I mean, that's what they said. I don't believe it at all. I think they got like a million different recordings of that shit. So I would love to see this stuff. But if you're asking, like, I understand that they're using the supplements for the information it is, but they would still need to be asking PSP for that. Gunderson and Noon's body-worn camera with Murphy, Snyder's photos, dog visible. FBI soil analysis, Kohberger's phone forensic extraction, AT&T CSLI analysis, Chief Fry tip interview, 12/13/22. Oh, is that the one with the Scott guy that talks about the scary kid? Because out of all the damn things, that's like one of the only things Chief Fry actually touched. I don't remember if that's it or not. That might be it. FBI email tip regarding the K-bar knife and OSU. I don't remember that. Dancer tip from 2018 to 2019. Tinder match. See this Tinder match thing right here. I don't know about the K-bar reference, but I do remember Chris Whitcomb mentioning something about one of the reports, and we did read one of the reports where a lady had met with this guy that she had matched with on a dating app or whatever, and he was just like into some sick shit. Like apparently the messages were real sadistic. And then it says physical handwritten letters from tipster M. Oh, did he keep that? I just skimmed over that report. And it's an officer sitting outside of the Moscow police. I actually want to file a request for the surveillance cameras at Moscow PD for this one, but they'll just freaking end up blocking this person's face anyway, so we won't be able to tell who it is. But somebody with the initial M goes up and talks. I think it's Brett Payne, and he comes outside. His camera's not on. He comes outside. He sits down, and she passes him a freaking letter. And it's all about this guy that, like, I can't tell if it's like an ex-boyfriend or just somebody that's like in her past or whatever. And like all this crazy psychotic behavior that he has been displaying, and like the stalking behavior and just this aggression and all these things. And he like hands the note over to her. And then like there's a couple of the paragraphs and he's like, yeah, we're not going to follow up. But it's this that right here. I don't think that he kept the note. I think the report says he handed it back. I don't know if it says he scanned it, because it sounds like he stood, like he was just outside the whole time. I'm going to have to go back and read it. Crime scene photos. Okay, this is the same thing right here. Okay. Surviving roommates and witness interviews. Please provide the name of the officers, date of the interview was conducted, blah, 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 blah. But see, that's so dumb, because they know they can just pull up the damn supplement. It's your own damn records. What do you mean? Pull up the damn supplement number. It's literally your own shit. Requested FBI records must be submitted directly to the FBI. And that was regarding this FBI cognitive interview that was done with Molly. PD body cam. Surveillance digital video evidence. This is the duplicate record. Yeah. Vehicle test runs. Please provide the name of the officers and the date of the recording. Why? Whenever it's your own freaking supplemental police report and you can pull it up. So that's why I started like taking the piece out of the report and pasting the verbiage into my request itself. And then when I get a response back, I send a copy, like an attachment of the report. This is Latell County Sheriff's Office. See, they told me straight up, like it was a privacy matter, that they wouldn't allow it. Pennsylvania report. Go to Pennsylvania. This is FBI record. FBI record, FBI record, FBI record. Please see cost estimate below for Chief Fry tip interview from Supplement 77. Who originally paid for that one? Was it us? I don't think it was us. Was it us? No, it wasn't. I don't think it was us. Who paid for that one? Was it Connor? I can't remember who paid for the Scott Perky interview. But that is literally the only one that Chief Fry even dealt with. I'm pretty positive. Let me go pull this damn thing up. We didn't pay for that one. Who freaking paid for Scott Perky? And why do I not remember? Let's see, which one is this one? Yeah, like we reviewed it, but I can't remember who I tagged for the original copy of it. Okay, yeah. Yeah. It is. This is the interview where we hear about the kid that he has a weird ass relationship with that says that he's followed Maddie and Xana to the Mad Greek from the college and then from the Mad Greek to their house and was in the house several times apparently when they weren't there, and then stayed in the house for a while they were home, and claimed that he could have taken them out at any time he wanted to. That was this interview. And let me go to my channel and see when we did it. Who freaking paid for this one? This was a really, really crazy ass interview. There's still stuff that it's not until it comes back up that I even remember. There's still stuff that Lucy sent me that I still need to freaking go over. Okay, on February 15th, 2026, we went live to discuss Connor. Yeah, it says audio from Connor. So Connor paid for that. So again, EWU is asking for things, not paying for a hot damn thing that they are getting like the go ahead for to pay the cost for. Like what? Let me see it. Let me see if it's just saying for them to pay a duplication fee. Let me see Connor's channel and see. No, there's no way. Wait, when was this? When are they asking for this? When is this date? September 15th, 2025. And we did it when? February 14th, 2026. So when did Connor post it? 3 months ago. February 10th, 2026. So way before Connor had it, they asked for it and didn't get it. Let's see what it says for supplement 77 under number 9. Yeah, look. They were told that they could pay for the redactions and they didn't do it. Well, I don't know how EWU can sue because of redactions if they actually never paid for anything. That's kind of like where I'm getting aggravated here. This is where I'm getting aggravated because Connor paid for this shit like in February of 2026. They asked about it and got a price for it in September of 2025 and never paid for it. So what did they actually pay for when it comes to them saying that they need to sue for redactions? Because that's the end of the list. Like I'm like a low key, I'm really getting aggravated because this is a multi-million-dollar organization asking how much the shit's going to cost, getting told that how much it is, knowing that they can freaking afford to handle it. They're asking for it. They know they can, getting told a price and then not going through with it. Connor paid for this shit. Here it is. February 10th, 2026. That's kind of annoying because if they actually didn't pay for anything and didn't actually pay for redacted information, then I don't know what they can sue for. Besides just being told, hey, this goes here and this goes here. And if they haven't filed anything since September, then, I mean, come on. I mean, I'm hoping so, but can they even provide proof about what's being redacted if they haven't received any redacted information? Like, what are they going to actually provide here besides, oh, this belongs to the FBI and, oh, this belongs to Pennsylvania? That's not proof of stuff that's been happening here. Like, that really bothers me. Because that's months before Connor got that shit. And they didn't bother to even, wow. What are they bothering to file requests for if they're not going to pay for nothing? What's the point? Just to see if they can? Like, they get told an amount and they don't bother? That's annoying. That's annoying as shit. Yeah, well, they're not being told no for everything. They're being given amounts that they can pay and being told, yes, you can have it, but here's the fee, and they're not doing it. Right there, can't sue for losses never suffered. If they never paid for anything and they're just getting told no because it belongs to another entity, I just don't really know. I just don't really know. I mean, I speak clear English. I made it very clear what I'm aggravated about. Okay, so this is the interveners coming in. And let's see what their argument is. Prior to the court's permanent injunction, the city produced certain videos to EWU redacted in the form of blurring. Which ones did you pay for? That's what I need to see. Because I'm not seeing receipts of them buying anything. Is there something past this? See, that's what I want a list of. I want a list of the things that they actually purchased that were redacted. Because they're not giving examples to that. Blurred images. Interveners have not seen the unredacted videos and therefore presume these images appear in them. What? I'm sorry. Prior to this court's permanent injunction, the city produced certain videos to EWU redacted in the form of blurring. The blurred images presumably include images depicting portions of the victim's bodies, etc. So Karen Laramie and the Chapins are coming in here with this guy, this attorney, filing this paperwork, saying that these images presumably include this information, but then say the interveners have not seen these videos and images. So they're just assuming this stuff is in there based off of their clients never looking at it. I'm obviously in the wrong profession because you can just sit here and just lie and be full of shit all day and everyone just gives you freaking kudos for it. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. This permanent injunction should be strictly enforced. I mean, that's cool, but it only stands for Moscow. There is little to be gained by the public in seeing the decedent's bodies, the blood-soaked sheets, blood spatter, or other death scene depictions, whereas the dissemination of these images across the internet and in public spheres where plaintiffs may come upon them by happenstance has already occurred, causing them extreme emotional distress is an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. I mean, crime scene photos are public record. No one's asking to see the bodies. At least I'm not asking to see the damn bodies. The disclosure of images that may result in witness harassment should not be disclosed. People are already asking questions. And y'all not wanting the information out here with everything that's already being discussed just makes it more shady. Be serious. Regarding the identity of witnesses, it is no secret that witnesses in the criminal case have endured extreme emotional trauma and have been subjected to harassment. Indeed, at Mr. Kohberger's sentencing hearing, witnesses sobbed. You mean Dylan freaking put an act on? As they gave emotional statements, and there have been demeaning and hurtful online posts about witnesses. You mean how they're lying? It's not demeaning and hurtful if it's truthful. And if it's demeaning and hurtful and it's facts, then that's on you. That's on you. Some even included conspiracy theories implicating the witnesses in the murders. That's because Dylan's lying. Can you, Mr. Lawyer Man, come out here and say that she's not lying? I highly doubt it. You probably have no freaking clue what you're even talking about. These statements were so egregious that under a reasonable person standard, they rise to the level of a witness harassment. No, they don't. No, they don't. She waited 8 hours and she lied her ass off to everybody that would freaking listen. Miss me with the bullshit. Okay, so here's their lawyer's declaration. Does it have anything special in it? At the hearing, witnesses were allowed to speak in open court. I saw and heard witnesses giving emotional statements to the judge, evidencing the impact of the case on them in the form of extreme emotional distress. For example, one said she slept in her parents' room for almost a year, closed all the blinds in her house, and was scared of the media. Their statements were accompanied by tears and sobbing. Sure. The entire, okay, they've seen it. Come on now. As part of my representation of my clients, I have monitored podcasts, YouTube posts, and other online posts about the victims and witnesses in the criminal case. Have you read the evidence? Have you pulled up a document, a forensic report? Have you listened to the 911 call? Have you listened to the interviews? Have you looked at the facts? Serious question. Many of the comments in this post include demeaning and hurtful statements about the witnesses, not if it's truth. And we're asking about why on facts. These statements were so egregious, blah, 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 same thing again. Yeah, I don't really care about any of that. Okay, so then we have Moscow's response. That was filed on April 21st. Now, this is where I said this is kind of dumb. I don't know why they're acting like this is something that's actually necessary here. I don't know why they think this is necessary to argue this. Foreign filing entities doing business in the state of Idaho must be registered as a foreign entity with the Idaho Secretary of State to maintain an action or proceeding in the courts of Idaho. And see, this is where I'm like, okay, so then what rights would I possibly have if me as the channel would try to take anything that they've done here to court? What rights would I have as somebody with, compared to EWU's millions across channels, like probably almost 20 million across all of their channels and platforms? What standing would I possibly have trying to go up against Idaho if they're going to try to pull this kind of dumb shit with a bigger entity that can afford to be played with a little bit? Who ever said that somebody had to be registered for business in any state that they are requesting a damn FOIA in? This is not a business transaction. This is not supposed to be considered a business transaction. This is a governmental transaction. So why are they even trying to pretend like they need a file to be a registered business in Idaho? I don't think I've ever seen something so ridiculous. Literally ever. And see, and that's a good point too. How many of these companies that are filing information are based in all these other states across the country? Because I think EWU is like in Nevada or something. It's like in Nevada, I think. I just don't understand what makes them think that that's like a thing. The Idaho Uniform Business Organizations Code requires a foreign limited liability company to be registered to do business in the state of Idaho or in order to maintain an action or proceeding in the state courts. So they have to be registered just to be able to file. So if I wanted to file against them for their bullshit with what they pulled here, I would have to be a registered business in Idaho and give that state all of my damn business. My social security number, my blood type, my firstborn, everything. Like I'd have to do all of that. Why? It is well established that the effect of noncompliance with the registration requirement is the denial of access to the courts of the state. What? That's asinine. Neither the preliminary provisions nor the chapter pertaining to foreign entities in the Idaho Uniform Business Organizations Code specifically define what doing business in the state means. Rather, the code lists the activities that do not constitute doing business. So why are we talking about it? carrying on any activity concerning its internal affairs, including holding meetings of its interest holders or governors. There's like nothing in here about police departments and criminal documentation. This is so stupid. This is so dumb. The official comment to 3021-505 explains that the statute is intentionally written in the negative to identify certain activities that do not constitute doing business because the code does not attempt to formulate an exclusive definition of what constitutes doing business in the state. This is a FOIA. EWU is a foreign entity doing business in the state of Idaho and is not registered to do business in the state. How is this business? How is purchasing FOIA'd information and then filing a lawsuit in a courtroom? How is that doing business? I am so confused by their rhetoric here. EWU Media LLC holds itself out to be a news agency which seeks to inform and educate the public about government accountability and transparency. In its public records request, it stated the records would be used to produce educational and journalistic content shared on platforms such as YouTube and Facebook, which it acknowledged are platforms that may be monetized. What's your point? Y'all have not said a damn thing to all of us YouTube channels out here. So why is it changing now that it's EWU? Simply because they're an LLC? That's crazy. EWU states that it produces in-depth true crime investigations offered in both long-form exploration and concise, impactful shorts, among other genres. EWU also proclaims that through rigorous research and exclusive interviews, we uncover truth that informs communities and sparks meaningful dialogue. EWU has a variety of specialized channels, such as Explore With Us, which is dedicated to true crime documentaries and breaking news. EWU Bodycam, which showcases raw police body cam footage with expert analysis, and Crime Storytime, which offers true crime stories told with immersive narration, firsthand accounts, and expert insights on real criminal cases. The Explore With Us channel on YouTube has over 7.3 million subscribers and over 1.7 billion views. Despite its reach, the Explore With Us channel reiterates that the goal of the news agency is to empower viewers with a clear understanding of what's happening in their communities. The EWU Crime Storytime channel on YouTube also informs viewers that EWU's goal is to empower them with a clear understanding of what's happening in their community. The channels for Explore With Us, EWU Crime Storytime, and EWU Bodycam all include links to join the channel for a monthly membership fee and a link to a Patreon page for EWU Crew, where users can choose among 3 tiers of monthly subscriptions to gain access to exclusive content. What in the actual shit does that have to do with doing business in Idaho? That's not doing business in Idaho. You would literally be putting that stipulation on every blogger that's ever gone to Idaho and done a video on their damn vacation, or went hiking in your little bitty old hills over there and decided to do a video about it and post it on their channel. You would literally have to do this to every single influencer or person with internet access that has ever come through your state. You would literally have to do this with every single person that lives in your state that has a monetized channel on TikTok or a monetized platform anywhere, on Facebook, on Instagram, anywhere that anybody was monetized anywhere. You would be making this big deal of them. They would have to be registered simply because they're making money on something that is based on something in Idaho. This is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. This is absolutely stupid. The Explore With This YouTube channel features a documentary titled The Disturbing Case of the Scream Killers about the murder of Cassie Jo Stoddart in Pocatello, Idaho in 2006 by Brian Draper and Tori Adamsick. I don't know that case. The documentary was posted on September 6, 2021, is over 2 hours long, and has 23.7 million views. Okay, it must mean that they do a good job, because that's a lot of views. The channel also features another documentary about the murder of Cassie Jo Stoddart titled Interview with a Severely Disturbed Killer 17 Years Later. This documentary, which was posted January 15, 2024, chronicles an exclusive interview with Brian Draper, who was serving a life sentence in Idaho State Prison and has 2.5 million views, okay? And if it was Brian Ensign, you wouldn't give 2 shits. Who gives a shit? Another true crime documentary on the Explore With Us channel focuses on Lori Vallow and the disappearance of her children, JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan from Rexburg, Idaho. Okay, well, I'll just say now, Nate Inton Nate Eaton also has a shit ton of stuff about Lori Vallow. So why does that not matter? Because that's based in Idaho? That's the only reason? This video is shorter than the others, running over 15 minutes, and has over 360,000 views. A case from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho is the subject of another documentary on the Explore With Us channel, this one covering the double murder committed by Eldon Samuel III in 2014. The documentary, which purports to provide an educational, psychological, and legal perspective, is over an hour and a half long and has had 12.2 million views since it was posted on September 17, 2023. This is the same thing that they'd be having to tell Netflix, that they'd be having to tell Amazon Prime. That's the kind of concept that they're trying to play here. On the EWU Crime Storytime channel, 2 or more true crime stories from North Idaho are featured. One titled The Most Twisted Case You've Ever Heard focuses on Joseph Edward Duncan III, the man who abducted Shasta Groen, and her brother Dylan in 2005 after murdering their mother and older brother. This documentary is almost 40 minutes long and has been viewed more than 7.7 million times since it was posted October 26, 2022. The other documentary covers the case of Lori Eisenberg, who murdered her husband in 2018 by poisoning him with Benadryl and then dumping his body in Lake Coeur d'Alene. Following revelations that she had embezzled money from the North Idaho Housing Coalition. I haven't heard of these. I have not heard of these. This documentary, posted on September 1st, 2022, has garnered over 6.7 million views. The EWU Crime Storytime channel also features a documentary about an unsolved triple murder in Canyon County, believed to have been committed by Michael Bollinger. This video has had over 3.7 million views since it was posted on October 2nd, 2021, and runs for 37 minutes. These videos, which are selections from the 493 videos posted on the Explore With Us channel and the 105 videos posted on the EWU Crime Storytime channel, are largely based on information contained within public records about each case. Complaints filed by EWU in a number of civil suits illuminate the monetary gains it realizes from the videos posted on its various channels. Who cares? It's public information. You cannot deny EWU public information being requested through the proper channels under a FOIA simply because you're mad that they then turn around and post it on YouTube. This is dumb. In one complaint, EWU alleges that it engages with audiences primarily through its Facebook and YouTube channel, and that these channels are significant sources of revenue, generating up to $30,000 per day. Bruh, what the frick? $30,000 a day? Holy shit. In another complaint, EWU again proclaimed that the channels were significant sources of revenue, and the channels depend on viewership and advertising and the ability to allow its videos to trend and increase in popularity. EWU invests a significant amount of time and resources creating video content and is responsible for the original selection, arrangement, and editing of the underlying public records footage in its videos. Given that EWU's video content is largely sourced from public records, it necessarily must submit public records requests to public entities to obtain these records. That's what they did. That's what they tried to do. Meaning that for each of the documentaries covering an Idaho true crime story, EWU had to purposefully engage with local police departments, sheriff offices, and other local police entities, other public entities all over the state of Idaho to obtain the content featured in these documentaries. Like the city here that charged fees associated with producing records, other public entities in Idaho would also be entitled to charge EWU fees to fulfill its public records request. Meaning, when I filed the information with Latell County for the Buddy the Dog stuff, they didn't charge me. The only person that's been wanting money here is Moscow. Meaning that EWU has engaged in economic transactions with various public entities to obtain the content featured in its documentaries. Finally, EWU has derived a pecuniary, I have never seen that word in my life, benefit from the lives of Idaho residents. For a 30-minute video that now is at 15 million views, EWU alleged that at one point the video was generating as much as $6,000 of revenue per day. That's crazy. The pieces it has produced about Brian Draper, Lori Vallow, Eldon Samuel III, and Lori Eisenberg are all about residents of Idaho, and EWU realized a direct monetary gain from its investment of resources into Idaho to be able to tell those Idaho stories. The activities EWU has engaged in to create the documentaries identified above, and certainly the activities it has engaged in to obtain records and information pertaining to Bryan Kohberger, are not isolated transactions. EWU has been engaged in regular, systematic, and extensive conduct for years and should have registered with the Idaho Secretary of State as a foreign limited liability company. Because it did not, the courthouse doors are not open to it. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. So let me ask this question. If they were to file to be a registered business entity, a foreign limited liability company with the Idaho Secretary of State, would that mean that at the end of the year, they would have to pay Idaho taxes because they're registered in Idaho too? Don't you have to, like, if you're a business, don't you have to pay taxes in every single state that you are technically state registered in? Isn't that how that works? I don't know if that's how that works. So they only give a shit if you're going to be paying them tax money. I don't understand how that's even legal. So not only would we like, if we were having to do this, okay, just like in general, whoever had to do this, not only are paying for redactions to be done in the highest amount of money, because that's what you're doing. The higher it is, the more information they're taking away from it. So you're not only paying them for information, but then you're paying taxes in a state that you don't even live in. And now they have registered for Justin Casey's. So now they're going to have to pay 2026 taxes next year for half of the year because they're registered in freaking Idaho now. But see, that's the thing. The income that they're making, they're not making it in Idaho. They're making it on the internet at a company based in another state. See what I mean? Like, they're not, the income that they're making is not being made inside the state lines of Idaho. They're registered in Nevada, and their stuff is seen across the planet. But if they're registered, that changes, does it not? That's kind of like the point now, because now they're registered. The whole no physical presence thing is like my argument. Like, if they're not actually, like, they don't have an entity there, they don't have an office there. The whole thing about them having to register and like what that entails is ridiculous. Right? That right there. And again, this is not the first time that EWU has had to file a lawsuit. Like, it feels like Moscow is like just making shit up. Moscow's like making shit up. For the reasons set forth herein, the city of Moscow respectfully requests the court to dismiss EWU's Media LLC petition. Well, that's probably just not going to happen. My God. Let's see what Catherine has to say. This is the declaration of Catherine Brereton. As a flight attendant, I had to file taxes in every state. Out crew had an overnight layover in, even though the company was in Indiana. What the hell? That's crazy as shit. Why is she having to pay taxes on money being given to her by her child? It's a gift. That's crackhead. These rules were definitely not created for civilians. I know that. Yeah, that's insane. That's crazy. I'm just so shocked about how ridiculous this whole thing is. Okay, so who is this person? Because I know this part has something to do with like a business search thing. And this is where they have some of the documents from other lawsuits that EWU has put in. It's a gift though. Like what? Like I want to start giving money to my grandfather that's in Louisiana and I'm in Texas. And I want to start giving him money because since my grandma died, there's one less person in the house. So now they're trying to take away not only like some of his Medicaid benefits as being somebody that was in the war, but like they're also lowering like his Social Security down. And so he's only going to have like $1,000 a month. So I want to start sending him at least like $100 a month or something. So now I need to look into that, even though it's a little bitty bit, to see what the taxes are going to act like so that nobody gets in trouble. Like I shouldn't even be having to even stop and consider all of those extra freaking steps. I hate it here, bro. Oh my God. I hate it here. I hate it here in general. Whatever the hell this is the dumbest shit. I hate it here. Holy shit. I hate it here so much. This is so dumb. This is so stupid. Okay. So this person is an attorney for the city of Moscow. And it says on April 20th, 2026, I ran a search for EWU media through the business search portal on the Idaho Secretary of State's website. No results were found. Attached is Exhibit A, which is a true and correct copy of the complaint filed by EWU Media against Vobel Inc. and A&E Television Networks, LLC. Then there's another one of a complaint filed by EWU against Pershing County and other defendants in the U.S. District Court for the District of Nevada. Then there's another one as Exhibit C. That's a true and correct copy of the complaint filed by EWU Media against Matthew Caddy and other defendants in the U.S. District Court for the District of Oregon. So I just don't really understand the reasoning for them doing this part right here, because all they did was file like a complaint. They didn't show anything about how these cases ended or what happened with these. And I'm not going to read through all of these because I want to get to like just what they're talking about. Plus, I want to hear the oral arguments. They're going to talk about this stuff. They're using it as an exhibit. They're going to bring it up in their argument. I'm going to see why they wouldn't. But this one right here was something about a video that was put up and they were like DMCA stricken. And they had to like fight the video being taken down or not. I just don't see like what is the point if you're trying to say that they have to do business in Idaho and this is all about Idaho. Like I don't know why you're bothering to file just the complaints for other lawsuits that EWU has also filed that has nothing to do with what's going on in Idaho. So like I don't even care about her whatchamadoodle right there. Okay, so then we have the petitioner's brief. Okay. So it says, in their oppositions, neither the city nor the interveners meaningfully defend the withholding of public records under the Idaho Public Records Act. The city's response is entirely procedural. It asks the court to avoid the merits based on EWU's foreign entity status, but it does not carry the burden the IPRA places on the public agency to justify the withholdings of records. The interveners likewise do not meet their burden to establish that the heavy redactions applied by the city should stand. Instead, they seek to expand the court's prior permanent injunction to protect the asserted interest of third-party witnesses. The city's and interveners' oppositions both fail. The IPRA requires disclosure unless the agency provides that a narrowly construed statutory exemption applies. The city has not done so. Moreover, the interveners lack standing to assert the privacy interest of witnesses, and in any event, the prior permanent injunction already resolved the scope of permissible redactions. The court should order disclosure. Then they said that the city does not meet its burden. As noted in EWU's opening brief, every person has a right to examine and take a copy of any public record of this state, and there is a presumption that all public records in Idaho are open at all reasonable times for inspection, except at otherwise expressly provided by statute. Courts must narrowly construe exemptions to that presumption. The statutory scheme for disclosure of public records and this court's interpretation thereof clearly envisions that, in responding to an order to show cause, the agency bears the burden of persuasion and must show cause or prove that the documents fit within one of the narrowly construed exemptions. If any public record contains material which is not exempt from disclosure, as well as material which is exempt from disclosure, the public agency shall, upon receipt of a request for disclosure, separate the exempt and non-exempt material and make the non-exempt material available for examination, provided that a denial of a request of copy non-exempt material in a public record shall not be based upon the fact that such non-exempt material is contained in the same public record, meaning just because there might be somebody's date of birth in an entire report or some sort of information that will identify a person or whatever, there's no reason to deny the entire request simply because there's personal information. Now, this sort of reminds me of the way that I asked for Kaylee and Jack's information, because I said that I wanted like timestamps. At the same time that I asked for Dylan's, I asked for Jack and Kaylee's. And I said that I wanted the timestamps. I wanted text message and phone call timestamps, anything like communication timestamps, but that they could blur out, like they could redact the messages. Like I didn't care for the messages. I don't want the actual communication. I knew they were going to try to deny that as being for privacy, but there was no reason to deny timestamps. Same thing when it came to Dylan Mortensen. I just wanted to see what the analytical things said about the 351 contact being added. And I said, for privacy, I know you can just redact the person's name and just give me initials. Like there's no reason to. But less than a week after I got that original denial, they ended up posting it publicly over to the court paperwork, which is why we have that full thing with the blue and the green bubbles. Literally a week, which was crazy. But I did ask for them just to give me timestamps. And they wouldn't separate it. They wouldn't do this. The city does not even attempt to meet that burden. Oh shit, I don't have it. Okay. The city does not even attempt to meet that burden. Its response focuses entirely on either whether EWU may maintain this action, rather than whether the requested records fall within any statutory exemption. See the City of Moscow's and Moscow Police Department's response to EWU media. That's the one we already read. The city does not engage with petitioners' arguments regarding the cited exemptions, does not analyze the records at issue, and does not provide a record-specific justification for withholding. That omission is dispositive. Once a denial is challenged, the agency must justify non-disclosure. The city's failure to do so leaves the presumption of disclosure unrebutted. The interveners do not cure this failure. Although they invoke privacy concerns and argue that the release of certain records would constitute an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy, they do not argue against any other points raised in EWU's brief. And then it says EWU does not fault them for this, as they do not have understanding to rebut those arguments, do not have standing to rebut those arguments. In any event, the burden remains with the agency, not private parties, to justify the withholding of documents. The city has not done so. EWU is not required to register to do business in Idaho. The city argues that EWU cannot maintain this action because it is not registered to do business in Idaho. That argument fails as a matter of law. Idaho Code 3021-502B, the registration statute cited by the city, applies only to a foreign entity doing business in the state. A subsequent provision, which is 3021-505, expressly identifies activities that do not constitute doing business, including maintaining an action or proceeding in engaging with interstate commerce. These sections exempt EWU from registering to do business. First, a YouTube channel that broadcasts nationwide and indeed worldwide. Do we not have somebody in here from like Tasmania? Did I not see that? We have people in here from all over the world. Switzerland, Scotland, Ireland, Tasmania, South Africa, Australia, everywhere. Freaking everywhere. So yes, worldwide. It is the very essence of interstate commerce, not the transaction of localized business within Idaho. EWU's online activities are not directed at establishing a physical or operational presence in the state, but rather at disseminating content to a broad, geographically dispersed audience across state lines. Idaho Code 3021-505A11 expressly confirms that engaging in interstate commerce does not amount to doing business in the state. An interpretation that a media entity is doing business in a state simply because it is obtaining public records and reporting on crimes that occur, there is an absurd interpretation, would require countless individuals and entities to register to do business in Idaho and would severely chill citizens' First Amendment rights. Second, the mere fact that EWU is pursuing or maintaining this action is not sufficient to require EWU to register to do business. That conduct is independently excluded under 3021-505A1, maintaining, defending, mediating, arbitrating, or settling an action or proceeding. The Idaho Supreme Court has made clear that the business registration statute does not purport to require a certificate of authority merely to file a lawsuit. Rather, see, and that's a whole other thing too. They have attorneys coming in from other states when it comes to like the Washington State University stuff, when it comes to what the Chapins and stuff are doing. They have all kinds of other entities from all kinds of other states. So I don't know why they even felt like this was even going to be necessary, especially since the fact that there's interstate commerce, part of the stipulations that don't have to register. They literally handed their rebuttal to them in their own list of bullshit. Like, that's insane. Second, the mere fact that EWU is pursuing, that conduct is independently excluded under 3021-505A1. The Idaho Supreme Court has made clear that the business registration statute does not purport to require a certificate of authority merely to file a lawsuit. Rather, its purpose is to ensure that Idaho citizens can sue foreign corporations in Idaho. Accordingly, EWU is not doing business in Idaho within the meaning of 3021-502B. Third, by requiring business registration, the city attempts to impose an additional prerequisite on access to public records based on the identity of the requester and the requester's intended use of the records. Once a request for public record is made, the custodian of the records is to make no inquiry of the person making the request, except as expressly provided by statute, and the motivation of the person requesting the public record is irrelevant, meaning just because somebody has a YouTube channel or just because somebody is a news organization does not mean that they have the right to deny the information from a FOIA request. The right to inspect public records is conditioned solely on whether the document is a public record that is not expressly exempted by statute. Thus, whether a public record is subject to disclosure or exempt from disclosure is an objective analysis both for the custodian and for the district court. By conditioning access on EWU's business registration status, the city asked the court to do precisely what Idaho law forbids, evaluate the requester rather than the record. That approach would convert the IPRA's objective framework into a subjective inquiry based on the requester's identity and activities. If accepted, it would open the door to arbitrary enforcement, allowing agencies to deny requests from out-of-state individuals or entities on grounds wholly unrelated to any statutory exemption and undermining the uniform right of access the IPRA is designed to protect. The fact that there is in 2026 still legal entities that don't allow online information is astonishing to me. There's been a couple of times where I've gone to go and file requests for information on certain things that I was looking into and couldn't because it's in-person, fill out the paper and come to the office and give it to me in my hand type situation. Look at the documents. We can give you copies. We can give you copies in person. You can pay for duplicates if you want to have separate papers. You can look at the stuff here in the office. There's all these ways that you can do all these things, but you have to physically be here to do it. And it's 2026. They need to get it together. They need to get it together. Oh, I've actually been looking into that for a while because of the way that I have the property set up. Homesteading. Yeah, I thought about that. Fourth, the IPRA sets forth a comprehensive framework governing access, and it does not authorize agencies to graft extra conditions into that right. To the contrary, the legislature identified specific limited exemptions to disclosure, and the absence of any registration requirement within the IPRA is telling. By conditioning access on corporate registration status, the city effectively creates an additional barrier to disclosure that the statute neither contemplates nor permits. Lastly, the city's position is inconsistent with the strong public policy favoring transparency and broad access to government records. The IPRA is to be liberally construed in favor of disclosure, with any exemptions narrowly applied. Imposing a registration requirement not only contravenes the statutory text, but also frustrates the IPRA's purpose by restricting access to out-of-state entities engaging in reporting on events in public concern. Because EWU's request satisfies the only conditions recognized by law, seeking non-exempt public records, the city lacks any lawful basis to deny access on the grounds that EWU has not registered to do business in Idaho. EWU has registered out of an abundance of caution. I really wish they wouldn't have done that. Like, I get that they're doing it for just in cases. And at the end of the day, it's probably going to be good that they did do it. But I really just wish that they wouldn't have, and they would have stuck their ground and not registered unless they were told that they had to, which with everything that they've already told us, I don't really think that they would have been told that they had to. But I really wish that they would have just held off on this part. EWU has registered to do business out of an abundance of caution. EWU strongly objects to the city's argument that it is required to register to do business in Idaho. But even if registration were required, Idaho law allows any deficiency in registration to be cured before judgment. The statute obviously contemplates that before the court enters a voiding decree, the non-qualified corporation shall have some opportunity to comply with the laws of Idaho in order to qualify to do business in the state. But that's my whole point. If they already said, we don't freaking fall in this guideline. We are doing interstate work. We are doing interstate commerce. It has nothing to freaking do with Idaho. Then they should have stuck to their guns unless the court said that they had to. But they already had the rules. So them, in my opinion, registering takes away some of their argument, takes away some of the heat of their argument. And I just wish that they would have stood their ground. EWU has now registered out of an abundance of caution, and it was filed contemporaneously. The alleged deficiency is now cured, and the city's argument therefore fails both legally and factually. The interveners lack standing to raise arguments on behalf of witnesses. The interveners join the city's response, but also contend that witness identifying information should remain redacted, despite the language in the permanent injunction requiring disclosure. I don't. We know who they are. Okay, there is very, very few names, at least that we're aware of, that we are not aware of, because we know who everyone, all the big players are. So when it comes to not wanting certain things out in way of interviews, in way of reports, in way of body cam, blah, 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 and all the blurred of the faces, these are all grown-ass people. And for the majority, we already know their faces. We already know their names. We already know who they are. They need to stop. Not giving us the information in this case does not stop people from talking about these people. It does not stop people from asking questions. It does not stop people from trying to figure out what's going on. Them still acting like they've got to hide everyone is the reason why this is probably a lot more shady than it needs to be. Obviously, there's something going on here. But for every little bitty thing to be secretive when it's not necessary, again, look what they did with the Latah County traffic stop. They made it seem like he must have said something crazy, or there was something so specific to the freaking case that it could not come out. Whole time, the cop's a liar. Whole time it's just because the cop is a liar. And it doesn't matter to me that the seatbelt ticket was cheaper and his insurance, and I don't give a damn. I don't. Sorry, I don't. The cop's a liar. It doesn't matter that he got a cheaper ticket. The cop literally told him he did not see him not wearing his seatbelt. Kohberger was honest and said that he wasn't wearing it. He got pulled over for speeding. Instead of a speeding ticket, he got a ticket for something that the officer already blatantly said he did not see. That means he's a liar. They didn't want us to see that their cop was a liar. They made it sound like it had everything to do with Kohberger, put this dark ambiance on it about him, and it had nothing to do with him. They've played that game with pretty much everything. Pretty much every damn thing. It is a fundamental tenet of American jurisprudence that a person wishing to invoke a court's jurisdiction must have standing. Standing focuses on the party seeking relief and not on the issues and the party wishes to have adjudicated. To satisfy the case or controversy requirement of standing, a litigant must allege or demonstrate an injury in fact and a substantial likelihood the relief requested will prevent or redress the claimed injury. The interveners may assert their own privacy interest or the interest of their decedents, which were fully addressed in the permanent injunction, but they may not assert the separate interest of a non-party witnesses. Their argument depends on alleged harm to others, not on a distinct injury to themselves. That is insufficient to establish standing. Although EWU understands the intervener's concern, they simply are not the proper party to raise the issue. Even if standing existed, the intervener's argument fails on the merits. The court already considered and issued a reasoned opinion finding that disclosure of unredacted witness interviews would not be an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy under the statute. Yet they still won't give us Emily Allant. I mean, well, they apparently didn't record that, but they still won't give us Hunter and Maisie. We still don't know what time and date that Jeff Kernodle and Jasmine actually said to the police. And see, that's where there's discrepancies, because in the report written about Jeff and Jasmine, they are both telling the officer that the last time they spoke to Xana was Friday. And that makes no sense to anyone out here who pays attention, because Jeff Kernodle, for all of this time, has told us that it was Saturday night that he last talked to Xana. And it has held on to his heart all the way up until the sentencing, because at his time to make a statement, he's saying that she wasn't feeling well and that he wanted to drive over there and that he regrets not driving over there drunk, because then he would have been there that night to basically be the one to fight Kohberger. It was his stance. So this entire time, he's been holding it on to himself that it was on Saturday night, that she was home around midnight and he wanted to go over there and he couldn't. But if it was Friday, Like the report says, why would Jeff be holding on to that? Well, because 9 times out of 10, the damn reports are wrong. So I've been wanting to hear just those pieces of those interviews to try to get the exact information, and they're not being allowed out here. The Chapins are not being allowed out here. No one's interviews are being allowed out here that's actually anything related to the victims themselves. At least nothing that we're being able to actually see. I know for a fact that Connor said he tried to get Maisie in Hunters and was told no. Was told no. Thank you for the $7.99 Rare Earth. Behind in the live, and I'm here. It's a rarity to catch them here in Australia, especially during the week. Thanks. We'll see across the world. Across the world. See what I mean? Across the world. Thank you again. I appreciate you being here. Even if standing existed, the intervener's argument fails on the merit. The court already considered and issued. Okay, I already read that. Okay. In the permanent injunction, the court wrote, contrarily, the court cannot find plaintiff's privacy interest outweighs the public's interest concerning the dissemination of audio, video, or photographs depicting 1, the interior of the bedrooms. And again, this was the Laramie and Chapin's versus City of Moscow first round. 2, exterior or interior, including rooms other than the bedrooms of the residents. 3, the personal property and items of the decedents found inside the interior and exterior of the residence, including but not limited to containers of alcohol, underwear, ID cards, or other personal items. 4, witnesses, including audio of crying, or 5, statements of witnesses given to law enforcement officials, including statements evidencing their extreme emotions. They literally wanted everything suppressed. They were literally asking for everything, even blood, to be considered a body part. Like, that's so extreme. They were trying to shut everything the frick down. Despite the horrendous nature of this tragic event and its distressing dissemination across the world, the fact remains that it was a quadruple homicide with investigatory records. These records, much like many law enforcement investigatory records, invade the privacy province of individuals, including suspects, witnesses, victims, and the like. And here, plaintiffs and others unnamed in this lawsuit. However, these records are precisely what the law affords the public to obtain under IPRA. Under the law and facts presented, the court cannot find that plaintiff's privacy interest outweighs the public interest regarding these items, such that their release would constitute an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. They even wanted the damn beer cans hidden. They were being absolutely ridiculous. The court's decision was well-reasoned and should stand. The videos must be unredacted as necessary to comply with the permanent injunction. They need to be, especially when it comes to Warner walking in to Maddie's room, going around to check her leg for lividity. We need to be able to see the sheath. They can blurry up Maddie all they freaking want to. We need to be able to see the sheath in the body cam. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's got to come out. Res judicata bars the intervener's argument. Even if the interveners had standing to raise these issues, their arguments are also barred by res judicata. The doctrine prevents re-litigation of matters that were or could have been resolved in a prior proceeding. Res judicata serves 3 fundamental purposes. It preserves the acceptability of judicial It preserves the acceptability of judicial dispute resolution against the corrosive disrespect that would follow if the same matter were twice litigated to inconsistent results. Holy shit. Okay. 2, it serves the public interest in protecting the courts against the burdens of repetitious litigation. And 3, it advances the private interest in repose from the harassment of repetitive claims. Res judicata encompasses claim preclusion and issue preclusion, which is also known as collateral estoppel. The Idaho Supreme Court has set forth the test for collateral estoppel as follows. The test of which collateral estoppel would apply is 1, whether the party had a full or fair opportunity to litigate the issue, 2, whether the issue decided in the previous litigation is identical to the current issue presented, 3, whether the issue was actually decided in the previous litigation and whether the issue was necessary to the prior judgment, and 4, whether the final judgment was on the merits. Okay, and 5, the last one, whether the party who the judgment is asserted against was a party or in privity with the party with the prior judgment. Basically, what this is basically saying is the Laramie's and the Chapins need to get off this lawsuit because they've already done this. That's how I'm hearing this. They've already done this. They've already sued the city of Moscow for privacy. They've already had an order in their lawsuit. Them being on this lawsuit is almost the same as double jeopardy. Is that sort of like how this is pretty much saying? Like, they've done this already. They don't need to be attached to this lawsuit. These elements are satisfied here. The interveners litigated the scope of disclosure in the prior action, which resulted in a permanent injunction defining permissible redactions. They now seek to revisit that determination by advocating for broader redactions based on witness privacy. Interveners, their paperwork from pages 4-6. That request is, in substance, an attempt to re-litigate or expand the prior judgment. Yeah, they've already done this. Y'all don't need to be on here. Y'all have already done this. There's no reason for y'all to be attached to this, is basically what this is saying. Res judicata prohibits that result. The court should order redaction of the records consistent with the permanent injunction. And then it talks about attorney fees. EWU has been required to bring this action to obtain records to which it is entitled under Idaho law, and the city has failed to justify its withholding on any valid legal ground. Should EWU prevail in this action, it reserves the right to file a memorandum for fees and costs under Idaho. The city has not come close to carrying its burden under the Idaho Public Records Act. It does not defend its redactions, does not analyze the records, and does not attempt to show that any statutory exemption applies. Instead, it asks the court to deny access based on procedural grounds. That position is contrary to the plain text of the IPRA, controlling Idaho Supreme Court authority, and the state's strong public policy favoring transparency. In any event, EWU has registered to do business in Idaho, mooting any objection the city may have on those grounds. I still wish they would have held out. That's just me. The interveners fare no better. They lack standing to assert the rights of third-party witnesses, seek relief that directly conflicts with the court's prior permanent injunction, and attempt to re-litigate issues that have already been decided. Idaho law does not permit such an end run around a final decision. At bottom, this case is straightforward. The IPRA guarantees access to public records unless a narrowly construed statutory exemption applies. The city and the interveners have proven nothing. What remains is an unrebutted statutory mandate of disclosure. The court should enforce that mandate. EWU respectfully requests that the court order the immediate production of the requested records, unredacted, except as expressly permitted by the permanent injunction, and award EWU its costs and attorney fees as provided by law. But you know what's crazy? If they end up getting their attorney fees and stuff all like paid for, it'll be our FOIA money that pays for it. It'll be our FOIA money that pays for it. Thank you for the 5 gifted memberships, Moonvale. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Congratulations to those who got those. I appreciate that. Thank you. But yeah, that's basically what this is saying is Karen Laramie and the Chapins already had a lawsuit that basically ran around this exact same subject. They should not be allowed to come in here and piggyback on this one when they already had something already basically judged in this arena, is how I'm understanding that. Okay. Okay, so this is somebody that works for EWU. Her name is Amy James. I am the head of operations at EWU Media. I guess, is this their business thing? Is that what she said this was? Yeah. Certificate of registration with their filing number as of May 1st, 2026. Yeah, they have their stuff is in Nevada. Sparks and Las Vegas. Givens Pursley Corporate Service is their registered agent. And then this is theirs from their home state. Interesting. Okay. So then we have, oh yeah, there was a motion to continue filed by the city because they didn't want this to go anywhere. Of course not. They also have like another attorney. I saw when they brought in this right here, this notice of appearance. Right here. Like, I thought that they like already had their attorney from up here. Like, there's no link for this one right here, so I don't know where that went. I'll have to go back on Sarah's page and find it because I know that I saw the original stuff. But now they have this guy, and it's like an office wear in Coeur d'Alene. So I mean, I thought that they had like their own attorneys, like just ready to go for stuff like this, but it does look like they ran off to Coeur d'Alene to hire like another guy mid-April. I don't know what they're doing with that. Okay. Okay, so here's the motion to continue. They filed this a few weeks ago. No, they filed this a few days ago on 5/11/26, trying to get this to go away because they didn't want the hearing tomorrow to happen. It says the court should first address whether petitioner has the legal capacity, they're on some bullshit all the time, to maintain this action. EWU Media LLC is a Nevada limited liability company. At the time it filed its petition, EWU was not registered to do business in Idaho. They're just going to keep that same argument. EWU does not deny that it was not registered to do business within the state. Instead, its reply argues it was not doing business in Idaho within the meaning of the statute and represents that it registered with the Idaho Secretary of State on May 1st, 2026, out of an abundance of caution. After the city filed its response brief, the petitioner registered to do business in the state. That is a factual occurrence that materially changes the circumstances regarding the city's argument. While the city does not concede that EWU's post-filing registration cures its lack of capacity at the time the petition was filed, or that EWU was not doing business in Idaho so as to not require registration in the first place, the petitioner's posture has materially changed now that it has registered to do business. While the Idaho Rules of Civil Procedure do not technically govern IPRA proceedings, the policy underlying threshold depositive motion akin to an IRCP 12B6 motion applies here. A litigant should not be required to incur the burden and cost of full litigation when a threshold defect may render the petitioner unable to obtain any relief regardless of outcome of the substance. It is therefore in the interest of justice and judicial economy for the court to resolve this threshold question before the parties are obligated to incur that expense of substantive briefing and argument, meaning before the hearing tomorrow. Here, the city presented questions of law the court should resolve before the parties proceed to argument on the merits. The city is entitled to challenge this threshold issue prior to incurring the cost of substantively defending against the petitioner's allegations. The city is therefore requesting that the parties argue only this threshold matter on the May 18th hearing, and should the court render a decision in favor of the petitioner on that issue, a continuance is appropriate to allow the city to respond to the substantive issues. So now they're like mad that EWU filed to register with Idaho, and now they're trying to figure out another way to attack this argument, and that's definitely failing. If the court finds that petitioner has capacity to maintain this action, a continuance is warranted to allow substantive briefing. The city's response brief addressed the threshold registration defect and did not reach the substantive merit. If the court finds the city does not concede that EWU has capacity to obtain the relief requested, the court will not have the benefit of the city's substantive legal arguments regarding custodianship of records, the application of Pennsylvania and federal law, and the scope of the permanent injunction's redaction requirements. Proceeding to argument on the substantive matters on May 18th under those circumstances is not in the best interest of justice or judicial economy. If the threshold issue does not dispose of this matter, the city should be afforded reasonable time to brief the merits before argument is heard. They want more time because they know that they don't have a case now. New material information from the FBI requires additional time to address. Now, this is where that damn letter comes in. And this is why one of these days here, we need to sit down and we need to go through all of the reports, all of them, from Moscow NISP, to see which reports mention any FBI involvement. Any. Because the way this letter, which we've already addressed, but we're going to read it again, the way this letter is verbiaged is as if the FBI did anything at all to help in a subject, they're not allowed to have that information disclosed. Nothing that the FBI did is allowed to be put out there. On May 4th, 2026, City Attorney Mia Bautista received a letter from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Salt Lake City Field Office, authored by Victoria Marie Vaughn, Associate Division Counsel. The letter advised that records generated by the FBI and provided to the Moscow Police Department in connection with the investigation and prosecution of the state of Idaho versus Bryan C. Kohberger are the property of the FBI, loaned to the Moscow Police Department, and are not to be distributed outside their respective agencies. One of EWU's central arguments is that the city failed to identify the specific federal authority supporting its withholding of FBI records. Yeah, it's just a letter. There's no law cited in it from what I can remember. The letter addresses that issue directly. The city requires time to confer with the FBI and present the court with a complete analysis of the federal exemption question, in addition to a complete analysis of the IPRA as it pertains to other agencies' records. Because the IPRA requires the court to decide this matter on the record before it, Idaho Code 74-116-1, the record should be complete before oral argument occurs. Petitioner will not be prejudiced by a continuance. EWU is not positioned to claim urgency. The IPRA gives petitioners 180 days to file after a denial. That's why we also have 180 days from when we got the muted footage to file. And I think the deadline is June 19th. So that's something that I'm working on. EWU's records requests were denied as early as July 2025 and as late as September 2025. So that tells me right there that they never filed anything else. That tells me right there they never filed anything else. So I want to see what they paid for. What did they pay for that they actually received? Because they didn't file anything after September 2025. And like I said, they asked for Scott Perky's interview in September of 2025 and obviously didn't pay for it because Connor paid for it in February of 2026. How many months is that? September, October, November, December, January, February. 5 months later, Connor pays for the redactions on Scott Perky's video. So Did they not buy anything? Did they not actually purchase anything? Those are the receipts that I was wanting to see. And all I'm seeing is requests very detailed, telling them, hey, this is a duplication fee. Hey, this is how much it's going to cost if we do the redactions. This belongs to the FBI. This belongs to PSP. They're basically getting the same responses that we got. But where is their receipt that they paid for things? I was expecting to see that. And I'm not seeing any of that. EWU did not file its petition until March 2026. Having elected to use most of the time the statute afforded, EWU cannot claim that a continuance causes it any substantial prejudice. Yeah, that means that they never filed anything else past September 2025 to get any other denials. So then what was the date? September 1st, 2025? They would have had to have filed this by February 28th, 2026 in order to hit their deadline. I don't know exactly the first day that it was filed, but I don't think it was filed in February. I want to see what they actually bought. They need to be asked to produce the receipts for the things they're claiming are redacted and blurred. One of EWU's central arguments is that the city failed to identify. Oh, I already read that part. Okay. Okay. The gravity of this matter and the need for judicial guidance support a continuance. Since the arrest of Bryan Kohberger, the city has received in excess of 1,500 public records requests for investigative and prosecutorial materials related to the case. EWU's channel generates revenue of up to $30,000 per day, and that its content depends on obtaining public records. What do you getting 1,500 public records requests have to do with their revenue income? That doesn't matter. That's literally doing exactly what the law says they cannot do. Looking at the requester, worrying about the requester instead of doing their damn job and staying in their lane and just providing the information. They're not allowed to even care. They're not allowed to care. The records at issue involve federal and out-of-state agencies, were shared with the Moscow Police Department in the course of a multi-jurisdictional investigation, and implicate the privacy interest of crime victims, witnesses, and the public. The question presented are novel, complex, and will affect how the city and other Idaho agencies respond to the continuing volume of requests in cases of this nature. A ruling on an incomplete record does not serve the parties, the victims, the witnesses, or the public. A brief continuance will produce a more complete record and allow the court to issue a decision that this case and many others requests that will follow it require. Conclusion. For the reasons stated above, the city respectfully requests this court hear only the question regarding the petitioner's ability to bring this lawsuit and continue any substantive argument on the merit of the petitioner's public records request. Yeah, you're not allowed to care how much money they're making, because it's not just on this case either. So whatever they're making in revenue doesn't have shit to freaking do with them. Now, this is the letter. Amended declaration of Mia Batista. This is where it says, on May 4th, 2026, I received a letter from the FBI Salt Lake City field office authored by Victoria Marie Vaughn, Associate Division Counsel, directed to me in my capacity as city attorney for the city of Moscow. A true and correct copy of that letter is attached hereto as Exhibit A. The letter advises that records generated by the FBI were provided to the Moscow Police Department for purposes of assisting in the investigation and prosecution of the state of Idaho versus Bryan C. Kohberger, and that such records are the property of the FBI, loaned, makes no sense, to the Moscow Police Department and are not to be distributed outside the respective agencies. The fact that the FBI is like, no, you can't give them anything that we touched is such a freaking red flag. Such a freaking red flag. Since the arrest of Bryan Kohberger, the city has received in excess of 1,500 public requests seeking information related to the Kohberger investigation and prosecution. Processing these requests has placed an extraordinary burden on city staff and resources. Cry harder. Y'all had 3 years to get your shit together. And here, when we go to ask you for information, we find out that you're disorganized. No one knows what the other person's freaking doing. You can't answer any freaking questions when it comes to what you're supposed to be the one doing the freaking back end checks on. Mia Batista is the last freaking moron over there that touches this shit before we then pay the rest of the fee and then get the information. And she could not answer a single damn question to me about protocol, who does what, who's responsible for what, nothing. She had no knowledge of how to do her own damn job. None. No answers. No idea who does what, when and where, nothing. And then, even though she's sitting there saying that she does all these FOIAs, and we know that her name is on the freaking list of charges, she's still acting like, oh, well, I don't really do much of this anymore. Yeah, you do. You're the freaking city attorney. You should know who's responsible for doing what, who's responsible for double checking and making sure that things are correct. That's your job. She had no answers. She had no answers to anything that I asked when it comes to protocol, anything. Nothing. I told her how disgustingly disorganized they were. There was no reason for these 1112 files to be in separate folders. There was no reason for there to have been any of this. I laid all of it out. She didn't care. They don't care. They honestly do not give a single shit. Now, here is the letter. Down here. And notice, there's no rules stated here. There's no law being cited at all. Records generated by the FBI were provided to the Moscow Police Department for purposes of assisting in the investigation and prosecution in state of Idaho v. Bryan Kohberger. It has come to the FBI's attention. The city of Moscow is maintaining possession of these records. What do you mean it has come to the FBI's attention? Don't you know where your records are? You're wanting to sit here and play like they belong to you, and you had no idea of that until it just came to your attention? Shut up. Shut up. As indicated on a number of these records, documents generated by the FBI are property of the FBI, loaned to Moscow Police Department, and are not to be distributed outside your respective agencies. Please return these documents at the conclusion of the current prosecution or any related investigation to the extent allowed by state order. Please return these documents. So does that mean that at the time of this letter, because he's been convicted, they're going to say that this is the conclusion of the prosecution and they're going to send whatever back to the feds they actually do still have? But I'm telling you, I've never received anything from them that had the FBI's name on it. Like, at all. Any third-party request for FBI records can be requested through both the Freedom of Information Act and the Privacy Act. An overview and instructions of the process, blah, blah, blah. Here's the link. There is no law being cited. There's no federal law. There's no Idaho law. There's no FBI, I want to say so, DOJ law. There's no law being cited. This Victoria Marie Vaughn, where the hell did your ass even come from? Because you've never been anywhere for the past 3.5 years now. Where do you come from? Where did you come from? Who sent you an email and told you to write this? Because your name has been on nothing, ma'am. Who are you? Who are you? Coming out here, you don't even know what the hell you're talking about. Dumb. Shut your face. You can't just do that because you want to. You have to cite a law. You have to cite a law. Okay, now here is EWU's objection to their damn motion to continue. And this was filed on the 14th. This is, I think, the last document. Yeah, this is our last document that we've got to catch up on. And then I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow morning at 11:45. I'll put the link in the chat before we get off of here too. It's already up and ready to go. Let's see. Introduction. Do we need all that? No, let's just go to the argument. Okay. The court should proceed with oral arguments as scheduled. The city asked the court to hear only its threshold argument concerning EWU's alleged lack of capacity and postpone all substantive issues for a later date. That request should be denied. The capacity issue is fully briefed. The city does not dispute that EWU is now registered with the Idaho Secretary of State. Judicial economy favors resolving all issues presently before the court at one time. Moreover, the city made a tactical decision to focus its response on a threshold procedural argument rather than address its merits of EWU's claims. It should have anticipated EWU's arguments and ultimate registration to do business in the state, the same way they should have they should have anticipated people filing freaking FOIAs. It was either going to happen when it happened with the plea, or it would have happened at the end of the year after the trial was done. They should have had this done. They should have been working on this entire time. They knew this was coming. It was the city's burden to show cause to support its claimed exemptions, and it did not even attempt to do so. Having elected that course, the city should not now be rewarded with a continuance based on its own strategic omission. The case arises under IPRA, which exists to ensure prompt public access to government records and timely judicial review of denials. The time for responsive pleadings and for hearings in such proceedings shall be set by the court at the earliest possible time or in no event beyond 28 calendar days from the date of filing. Delaying proceedings undermines those statutory purposes. Although EWU was in support of setting a briefing schedule and hearing beyond the statutory 28 days to give the parties ample time to formulate their positions, it objects to any further continuance. The city was given more than sufficient time to brief the substantive issues, and it chose not to do so. The FBI letter does not warrant continuing the hearing. It really doesn't. I don't know what they thought that was going to do. The city also relies on a May 4th, 2026 letter from the FBI concerning records shared with the Moscow Police Department. That letter does not justify postponing oral arguments. As an initial matter under Idaho law, the propriety of a public records denial is assessed based on the grounds existing at the time the request was denied, rather than at the time of the hearing. This statutory language makes it clear that the relevant inquiry is the time of the denial. And they're talking about Wade versus Taylor. The denials challenged here occurred months before the FBI's May 2026 correspondence. The city, therefore, cannot retroactively manufacture new justifications for withholding records through post hoc communications obtained after litigation commenced. They cannot sit here and say, we can't. Okay, basically they're saying them claiming all of their denials prior to this letter on May 4th, saying that, hey, that's an FBI record, we can't give it to you, blah, 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 blah. They can't now use this letter all the way in May for a denial that they got about the FBI back in September, is what this is meaning here. Nor does the FBI letter itself materially advance the city's position. The letter does not identify any federal statute, regulation, or binding authority prohibiting disclosure of the requested records or preempting Idaho law. Instead, it appears to consist of the FBI's unilateral assertion that certain materials remain FBI property and should not be disseminated. But the alleged ownership of the records is irrelevant. But it's really not, though. Honestly, it's really not, because at the end of the day, Moscow was the lead agency, and the lead agency is the one that's supposed to end up with everything. You're assisting. If you're going to try to put the FBI in the same category as ISP, which I don't, but a lot of people want to, then they're assisting. They're assisting. They're answering whatever questions that's being asked of them by MPD and then giving MPD the answers for MPD to make the decisions. Is how it's supposed to have gone. Not how it went, but how it was supposed to have gone. But I think they're full of shit. Just all the way around. Instead, it appears to consist of the FBI's unilateral assertion that certain materials remain FBI property and should not be disseminated. But the alleged ownership of the records is irrelevant. Under the IPRA, Idaho public records are, any writing containing information relating to the conduct or administration of the public's business prepared, owned, used, or retained by any state agency. And again, Moscow's supposed to be the lead, right? So they should have everything. A document can be a public record, then simply if it is used or retained by an agency, even if it is owned by the FBI. The FBI's letter is therefore insufficient in the absence of any explicitly stated statutory exemptions, meaning you have no laws here. You just are writing this because you freaking felt like it. Moreover, by its own terms, the FBI letter concerns only records generated by the FBI and provided to the Moscow Police Department. The city's motion acknowledges that the letter pertains to records generated by the FBI and provided to the Moscow Police Department in connection with the Kohberger investigation. The letter, therefore, does not purport to address all categories of records sought by EWU, such as those originated from Pennsylvania. Well, I know that Amber has told me they don't even have that. Now, I don't, obviously she's going to say whatever she's been told to say, but she straight up told me they don't have a copy of what was recorded at the barracks. And again, the report that Brett Payne wrote about the interview that him and Gilbertson did with Bryan at the PSP barracks, in his report is mention of a transcript that was created from the pocket recording that Gilbertson took while they were in that interview. So it was being recorded at PSP on the system in the building. Then it was being recorded on Gilbertson's pocket recorder. And both Moscow Police Department and the Idaho State Police have told me specifically neither one of them can be found. They don't have a transcript and they don't have a recording from a pocket recorder. They know it's in the report, but they can't find it. And that I'm not the first one to ask. They've known about this for months. So they have reports with technically false information in them because the stuff's missing, because they're not trying to follow up on the stuff that's missing. They're just going to pretend that it doesn't matter. And they're refusing to go any further. Again, me finding this out a couple months back or whatever it was that I finally found this out and told you guys about this, I was not the first person. They didn't go back in and try to figure out where all this stuff went. They didn't see where Gilbertson went with the pocket recording. Who put the pocket recording into evidence in order for a transcriber to get a hold of it, for there to be a transcript even talked about? Where's all that information? Nowhere. They've known for months. They've known for months. For months. Indeed. The timing and circumstances described by the city strongly suggest the letter was solicited by the city after EWU challenged the adequacy of the city's asserted legal basis for withholding records. Like they're saying the city asked for this letter. Probably so. One of EWU's principal arguments has been that the city failed to identify any applicable federal authority prohibiting disclosure. The city now seeks additional time based on a newly obtained agency letter that still fails to identify such authority. More broadly, the city's conduct throughout this matter supports the conclusion that the city is attempting to avoid disclosure rather than comply with IPRA's mandate of open government. The city delayed production of records, refused to produce certain records outright, declined to substantially respond to EWU's petition on the merits, and now seeks to postpone adjudication based on a letter received after the briefing was closed that appears to have been obtained at the city's request. Whatever the reason, the city approach reflects continued efforts to prevent or delay disclosure rather than facilitate the transparency required under Idaho law. While EWU can sympathize with the city regarding the large amount of public records requests they have received, I don't. Y'all should have been ready. The city has had almost a year to assert and support the statutory exemptions they believe apply to the Kohberger records. They have not done so. It would be more cost-effective and time-efficient to produce the records with appropriate redactions as necessary. The FBI letter does not fundamentally alter the issues already before the court and does not justify postponing adjudication of EWU's petition. Conclusion. For the foregoing reasons, EWU respectfully requests that the court deny the city's motion to continue oral argument on substantive issues pending resolution of threshold capacity question and memorandum in support thereof, and proceed with oral argument on May 18th as currently scheduled. And that's it. And that is it. There is a link. I'll go ahead and give y'all this link in the chat in case y'all want to watch this tomorrow yourselves. It's going to look like this. This is the official website where it's going to be streaming. This is where we're going to be streaming it tomorrow when we go live. Now I will give you guys the link to our live tomorrow where we can watch this together. Here's that one right there. And I think I have it to where I'm going to be live at 11:45 my time. Yeah. 11:45 a.m. my time. There's that one. How are you blocked? I see you. I see you. I don't know. We've paid thousands just on this channel. I have no idea. Oh yeah, if you see, yeah, the VPN thing, like I have a VPN on and I never have an issue, but I'm also using United States based locations. So I don't know. I know that some people overseas are still blocked even with the VPN. Yeah. Yeah. That's why a lot of the stuff I put on the Google Drive, like I'm even going in and going through back. I think I have all of 2022 on there. Let me look. Oh, I did some more stuff today. So I'm still going through, well, I was going through, I just sent this back to the person who gave it to me, but I was going through the exhibits that were released where they had the unredacted reports. And so I went into the Google Drive where I showed you guys that I had separated out the forensic reports. So now when you go and you click into the forensic reports that are in order, you're going to see double numbers because now it's the redacted one that we first got from the ISP portal. And then it's also the one that's not redacted. So we have access to both when we have them. Now, there's still some that we don't have an unredacted report for. Report number 4. Right here, we don't have one. We don't have one for report number 6. Ooh. See, it went to go load too fast. It has to come back up. All right, okay. Yeah, some of these we don't have like an unredacted one for. Number 13, we don't. Number 16, we don't. Number 20, we don't. For some reason, report number 11 and report number 25 were filed multiple times, which I don't know why. We don't have an unredacted report for 26. We do not have the unredacted reports for 31 and 32 and 34, and those were number 31 had to be amended, and the amended one is number 34 down here, but we don't have the unredacted versions of those. We only have the ones we got from the redacted stuff. We don't have an unredacted version for report number 36. or for 43 or 44. And then I also have it over here on for the case 4870 that had like Jack Showalter and a couple other people connected to it or whatever. We only have unredacted number 2 and number 4 for those. But those are like, oh, we're almost there. we're almost to like all of them. And there's still like a few down in here. Just a few in here. I need to move around. And yeah, I'll put the link in the chat again. But yeah, I've been going in and I've been moving documents too, because I want to be able to have like all of them available, and I don't want to print all this shit out. And plus, I know that like again, a lot of you guys can't even get to this shit because of how they have a bunch of VPN crap. But like right here where it says all court documents, like I have everything from Latell County in here from 2022, like when it first started. And I'm copying and pasting the name of it and putting the date that it was filed to the court. But then I'm also putting them like with the numbers in front of them so that they can be kept in here the way that they are on the website itself, the way that they actually are on the portal itself. And see, I've been working on 2023. Oh, it's not even showing. Yes, it is. I'm working on 2023. See, I've had a bunch of them. But that's pretty much like where I stopped. But the whole point is to come in here and finish off Latell County 2023 and then start like all of them. The whole point is to have all of them in here eventually. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. I put the link in the chat, Sparkly. It's also supposed to be in like all of the damn description boxes, but sometimes like it links from a different video and doesn't put it in there for some freaking reason. Let me go make sure it's in the description box of this one at least, because it's in multiples of them, but then sometimes it like comes over from a different video and it doesn't have it in there. And I don't know why. It has all of the rest of the official links that I have in there. Yeah, it's in there. The link for it is already in the description box of this live. Can't do a live on what the motives would be if I don't know who did it. Can't do a live on what the motives would be if we don't know exactly who did it. We just have a bunch of questions. And there's a lot of stuff we don't know. I mean, look how many people they hid from us. We didn't know anything about there being a third person at 11:22 that night. We didn't know anything about the girls having a third person in the car. There's a lot of shit that we had no idea about. So much shit that we had no idea about. It could be so many things. All I know is that it looks like it was personal when it comes to it. It looks like 2 different crime scenes. That's the crazy part about it. That's why, like, when it comes to Turvey and like some of the language that Thyray used in his book, it's literally like 2 completely different things. It's very odd. And then like the fact that they're saying that the girls upstairs had 2 cuts post-mortem here and then 2 cuts on their shoulder post-mortem, and then not a single post-mortem anything on Xana and Ethan. He was covered up after his wounds, and the girls were posed apparently. That's obvious. And then covered up after the fact. And Xana was left just on the floor, exposed. That it's all just so strange. It's so strange, man. Yeah, the whole thing about Xana not being, and then the way that she's being described, I hate the term spread eagle. I have hated that term like my entire freaking life, and that's how they are describing her in this. Everyone was covered up but her, and she's in her underwear. legs wide open. That's the first thing that you see when you walk in on the scene. It's just a lot. Yeah, it's like the complete opposite of where like everyone else is covered up, which has its own psychological statements. And then Xana. And then the two girls' wounds upstairs don't match nothing across the board here makes sense. I know. And it's in the damn reports like that. That's why I absolutely hate that term, but that's how it is in the book. That's how it's in that when Turvey talks about it in the book, that's how it's written. And I hate it. I freaking hate it. Yeah, Thyray's book is coming out on the 1st of June. 1st of June. We're getting it. It's $95. It's already been handled. We're getting it. And we're going to read it. We're going to do it the same way that we're doing this one. We have 7 more chapters left in Broken Plea. We'll have it done by then. We'll definitely have it done by then. Just so much to think of constantly. And like I mentioned this in my the little clip of Dylan's interview that I put out earlier, which I'm going to be doing that for the entirety of the 6.5 hours that we went over it, just like a 10 or 15 minute clip. Like I'm going to try to do it in order. That part's like sort of like in the middle, but I'm going to start it at the beginning because there's just so much freaking much information. And we're going to have to go over all of their interviews all over again. Like the same way that we just did 11-17. We only did that because it was all of chapter 6. But we're going to have to do the same thing for Bethany here soon. Not for chapter 7, but I'm pretty sure like chapter 8's like starting all the Bethany stuff. So I'm going to do the same thing for that one. We'll do like a really deep freaking 1,000 million hour long live review of the information. And then I'll go back in and clip pieces out like in order because it's a lot to retain. So I think putting it in smaller sections is going to make it a lot easier for people to understand, hey, she's lying. She's lying. She's not being honest. She can't keep her story straight. Everything that she said on the 13th, she's now taking back. She's going to answer something and then immediately changing her mind because she knows she was told to shut up and act like she was stupid. Like it's caught in every question. Every question. I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it. It's a lot. That's why the channel's going to buy it. We're going to talk about it. Thank you so much, Terry Dawn, for the 5. I appreciate that so much. Well, thank you, Crud Dog. Thank you for the 5. I appreciate that. So much crazy stuff. All right, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. Did I put the live link for tomorrow? I don't think I did. Hold on one second. So the plan, unless like some other documents about this case like come out or whatever, then we'll do chapter 7 tomorrow after, like later on in the evening. But if documents come out, which has happened quite a few times, where there's been a court hearing and then after the court hearing's over, stuff gets released, like documents and stuff are filed and get released. So as long as nothing comes out tomorrow regarding the hearing, then we'll go live to do chapter 7. Here's the link where we're going to watch it together, just in case I forgot. Did I put it in here? I honestly don't remember. Okay. There's that. Man. All right, you guys. I'll see y'all tomorrow. 11:45 Texas time, whatever time that is for you guys. And we'll see what the oral arguments are. We're going to see what they have to say. Again, just side note, because I feel like it's important. If they didn't pay for anything, if they left their request with a cost letter in September of 2025 and don't have any receipts for stuff, I'm going to be really kind of annoyed. Like, I get the principle, and it's great that this is happening and it's going to court, because hopefully that'll mean that something happens and stuff that we've done. But I really want to see what they've purchased. I need to see what they've purchased. So hopefully they get asked that question, and they provide, when it comes to like exhibits, the same thing that I provide you guys. What they tell me, like what I've asked for, what they tell me it's going to cost, how much the deposit was, when they finally got it done, how much they ended up with the quote, the additional amount of money that we paid, and then how long it took to get the information. I want them to be as open with the court as I am with you. And I don't see a receipt. I see them stopping in September of 2025, and then I see us people over here on this end being the one paying all these big redaction fees, when this big ass freaking $30,000 a day company could have done it already, and could have had a whole bunch of truth out here way before we ever could financially take care of it. I think that's where my aggravation stands. We have like struggled as a community, all different channels, to try to get this information, and they could have done it with one day's income and had it out here. That's kind of annoying. That's kind of annoying. I'm just saying. Awesome, they're making that much money. That's freaking amazing. But they could have put it to use. That's what I asked about, like the cams. Like when we went in there and we were requesting all that information, I'm like, how in the actual shit are we the first ones to go through with these redactions? And we weren't. They were asking for all of that. We got 11/12 in November. They didn't give us the section of time that was muted until December. They asked for it a month before we did. They could have taken care of that with 30 seconds of revenue. Oh my God. That's my annoyance. I'm just saying. That's my annoyance. What happened? What did I miss? I see something important. What am I missing? What happened with Kiwi? She made a comment about the autopsy stuff, but I don't see what happened. You can hear my son's big old mouth. What happened? But you're a Kiwi. I'm confused. I'm confused, girl. What did I miss? I mean, I'm agreeing with everything that you're saying, but I'm confused as to why people are sending you prayers and stuff like something bad happened. Did something bad happen? Okay, I'm confused. Is there another Kiwi? I'm so lost right now. Oh no! Oh no. Please be careful with whatever you're doing. I'm sorry about your fur baby. That sucks. I'm sorry, girl. I'm sorry. Be careful on your drive. I took her on a vet for an x-ray test results today, didn't send her home. Sue the actual shit out of them. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, no, no. Sue the actual shit out of them. Sue the actual shit out of them. Oh my God. No, girl. That's them. Sue the shit out of them. And then start some sort of something in her name for animals. That's crazy as hell. I mean, take a minute. I understand that, but that's bullshit. That is definitely on them, girl. Yes. I cannot believe that. They should know how to handle that. It's literally their job to know how to do that safely. I'm so sorry, girl. Be safe tomorrow and keep us updated on everything. Man, that sucks. Oh, hell no. I'd be suing the shit out of them. Oh my God. All right, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the gifted memberships and the super stickers and super chats. I very much appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys later. Let me go ahead and end this. All right, there it is. All right. See y'all. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. And please don't forget to make sure that the notification bell is set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives.